Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children 18 plus, you are tuned in to Loan Officer Podcast with me, Dustin Owen, and a very special guest. Originally from the Oklahoma, Ohio region, she moved to Florida at the ripe age of 18 to go to the University of Florida, where she graduated with her degree in business. Mortgage was not her first career, but how she found herself in the mortgage industry is a story that you're going to learn today. She is on pace to fund well over 200 units this year, funding over $800 million in production. She is a mortgage broker from the greater Orlando area. She is my new friend, Ashley Bedford. Ashley, welcome to TLOP.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm stoked. So you and I just had a chance to spend 30 minutes, just you and I hanging out, no cameras, probably annoyed John Coleman a little bit. You do know you're sitting in his seat, right?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, this is the hot seat.
Big shoes to fill.
Yes. Like, look, you'll talk more than he does. And trust me, the people will want to hear you talk way more than they hear me talk, and especially more than John talks. But what people don't understand is we don't always have guests on. Like, probably 1 out of every 9 episodes ends up being a guest. And I'm happy that you and I got to, connect at UWM Live.
Yeah.
And we connected through the guys who own the brokerage that you've recently gone to work for. So shout out to Nick and Joe over at Apley.
Apley, yeah.
And but what was really cool that the audience doesn't know that I'm going to teach them right now. You and I originally met not one-on-one, but one of my friends who runs a mortgage branch, his wife is a top realtor in our market. And she actually had sent one of your communication pieces to her husband saying, hey, this is awesome. Why aren't you doing this for our buyers? And I think sometimes that's the greatest compliment is when a local realtor brags to her husband, who's a top producing branch manager, about how great your communication was on a transaction. So that was the first time I heard of your name. Then I looked up your production. I literally said, WTF, how do I not know who this is? I take pride in knowing who the mega producers are, not just throughout the country, but in my home, like my backyard. Yet today's the first day that we're actually sitting down to have a real conversation.
Yeah, I always say that, you don't have to be big and loud to be good and make a difference. So I think that's huge.
And I would say you're making many differences and you're beyond good, but you're great. So what I want to do today is I want to introduce the audience to you, right? To your story, your journey, because what I have found is that success follows patterns.
Yeah.
Right. So we can study the patterns of those that are doing what we do or that have done things before us to figure out, well, what did they do and how can I emulate it? And success also leaves footprints.
Yes.
So you have left some deep, long-lasting footprints that you probably never take the time to look back on because you're so focused on looking forward. However, the rest of us who are either following you or we're racing to keep up, we're going to want to step in those same footprints that you left behind. And that's what I want this journey to be. And along the way, if you have something you want to promote, you want to pimp out, by all means, please do so, because that is my way of saying thank you and have a guest on. Where do you want to start this conversation? Do we go back to the 18-year-old moving to Florida, or do we start with the mom of 2 venturing into the mortgage career in 2015?
I mean, you can start when I was 18.
Let's do that.
Fine, yeah.
Okay, so you're 18 years old. You moved to the sunny state of Florida, coming from that Ohio, Oklahoma-ish area.
And I was Ohio at the time. Yeah.
You were Ohio at the time.
I was born and raised in Oklahoma and lived in Ohio when I was in high school.
Okay, where in Ohio?
And just outside Toledo in Walbridge.
Ah, that's right. So you were telling me earlier that the University of Toledo was offering you a full ride to go be a pharmacist.
Yes, to be a pharmacist. So.
And you turned that down?
Yeah, I did.
You didn't want to count pills for a living?
No. I mean, listen, for me, it was making $80,000 a year at the time. I thought,
You'd be rich.
So, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you turned down for a boy.
I did.
Wow.
He happens to be my husband now, 21 years later.
That's pretty cool.
Worked out.
Okay. Like you all met like on MySpace or Facebook?
Nope. When I was 17, I went to Virginia Beach with my best friend over the summer, 2 17-year-olds, and I met a different person who happened to be his best friend. And we talked on the phone for 3 months.
The different person?
No. My husband, because the different person would come to visit in Florida, his best friend.
Oh, okay.
And we talked on the phone, and I bought a plane ticket, my spring break of my senior year of high school, and flew. And I told him I had a really rough family life, so don't introduce me to your family.
Okay.
And until you're ready to marry me. So one weekend he introduced me to his mom and I said, I'll be back to marry you. And here we are.
No way.
And now that I have an 18-year-old, it's actually terrifying. Okay. In case you're wondering.
So wait, you were 18 years old or 17 years old.
18. Yeah.
18. You flew to Florida. By yourself for your high school
spring break.
Mm-hmm. Was he in high school or was he out of high school by then?
No, he had graduated.
He had graduated by
20.
then. And you're like, hey, I'm going to come see you for the first time.
Yeah.
Although you all have been like,
I had no idea
phone.
what he looked like, by the way, because there wasn't social media.
You could have sent letters with pictures in them or Polaroids.
I don't think we really thought about that.
Wow. So you just described, he was like, hey, I'm this tall with this color hair. And you're like, I'm this tall with this color hair. And
yeah. So I did send him a picture at one point. So he did kind of know what I look like, but I didn't know what he looked like.
Get out of town.
Yeah.
What would he have done if he was like 5'1", 300 pounds?
Well, I remember getting off the plane and thinking, oh God, what if he's a serial killer or like a 50-year-old that lives in his mom's basement?
Well, thank God we don't have basements in Florida. So,
I know.
Yeah.
So I did think about that. But, it worked out.
Okay. Very cool. So then was it at that point you decided, well, I should probably go to University of Florida?
No. So I actually worked 3 jobs first and I actually rode a bicycle because I only had $150. I had worked that summer before I moved here because I had to go back and graduate high school.
Okay.
And I worked a summer job in Put-in Bay, which is a little island off of Lake Erie. Me and my best friend, her uncle owned a hotel there and we worked 3 jobs there and we hustled. Like we bought irons and rented them out because you couldn't have irons in the room. And then you couldn't drive golf carts after 10 because everybody drinks there. So we would charge $50 a ride to these drunk people to get them back to the hotel. So we hustled that summer and then I moved here. But I only had enough money to buy a bike. And so I bought a bike and rode my bike from Kirkman and Conroy to the Target and then the Bubbaloo's. And then I worked a 3rd job decorating people's houses, like on Bay Hill, decorated Arnold Palmer's house when he was alive.
So you first moved to Florida.
Yeah.
You forewent University of Toledo.
I did, yeah.
You moved to Florida, worked 3 jobs for this boy that you had met on vacation at Virginia Beach.
Ultimately, yeah.
Well, that's right, because
I never met him.
You never met him.
Yeah.
You met his friend.
I did.
And then through his friend, started talking to him.
Yes.
Are those 2 still friends?
They are, yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Did they both go to Lyman High School?
They did, yeah.
What was the other guy's name?
Elvin Roland.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like, y'all don't know this, and we just met each other, but her husband and I went to the same high school. I'm about 4 years older, though. Yeah. So I'm always looking for some kind of, like, overlap if they knew. So that's a really cool, crazy story.
Yeah.
Right? Probably we could dive in deeper. We don't have enough time to today. Yeah. To be like, holy cow. Like, yes, you've been on your own for a long time. You're very independent, strong-willed, extremely smart, right? You graduated top of your class.
I did. Now, and I went to massage therapy school first when I came here because I was trying to look for a quick degree.
Okay.
And I finished, but I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. This is disgusting, actually. So I quit doing that.
So you went to massage therapy school. You're working at Bubbaloo's Delicious Barbecue.
Yep.
Plus working at Target, having to drive your bike to both of them.
Yes.
Found a cheap apartment down off of Kirkman, which, by the way,
by the 7-Eleven.
Kirkman is really close to Universal Studios.
Yeah, and the malls and all the attraction areas.
Yeah, so like, why wouldn't a tourist want to go live in the tourist area of Orlando? The rest of us stay away from the area.
Yeah.
But you were like, hell no, I'm moving down from Ohio. I want to live.
Well, that's where he lived, which was like the thing. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Did you move in with him right away?
I did.
Yes, you made every parent's best decision.
Right?
Oh my God. Yes.
And it sounds worse that I have an 18-year-old now. Like, it's actually horrible. I'm like, please don't do this.
Okay. And then from there, you did find your way to Gainesville, Florida, where you graduated from the University of Florida.
Yes. So graduated University of Florida with a business degree.
Okay. So did you not enroll in college until you were already like 20 then?
Yeah, 20.
Okay.
Yeah, 20.
Yeah.
So.
And then you graduate, you go get a real job in a bank.
Making $10.25 an hour.
Hell yeah.
And I was like, I made it.
Yeah. I made $23,800 my first career job. Like, I graduated from UCF and I moved to Atlanta and it was $23,800.
Yeah.
So you were in that ballpark range if you were $10 an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a little less. Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then I went to a community bank and worked, and they kept passing me over for all the management because of my age. But in my mind, I was way older because I had already been on my own since I was very young. Mm-hmm. And so, and I'm training these people that they're hiring, and I'm like, this is stupid. Like, you're literally passing me over and asking me to train them. You're crazy. So I'm not doing this anymore. So I wanted to stay home with my second daughter, and I worked for my best friend's parents. They owned a copier company. I did their accounts receivable, payable, their dispatch, which also, funny story, is I have 0 directional gifts, okay? So I would put pins on a map every day to route our copier tech because I had no idea. Like even now I'm like, where am I going?
Like
I have a general idea where downtown is. Like we're good. But
yeah, but if someone
beyond
says,
that,
"Hey, I need you to head east," you're like, "Whoa,
oh no,
let's stop."
No.
Yeah. You and I are pretty similar on that.
Like, where's the Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks? You know, like, tell me what it's next to.
Yes, you need landmarks. The only time I was not directionally challenged, I lived in West Palm Beach for a hot minute, and at least there, everything runs north, south, or east, west, right? Because you're on 95. Everything runs on I-95.
Yeah.
And then you just have these roads that they run parallel, but they all intersect 95.
Yeah.
And they all go in order. So once I could memorize them going in order, I was like, oh, okay, cool. 95 goes north or south. Then I have, Palm Beach Lakes, and I have, Lantana, and I have Okeechobee, and I just had to know, am I going towards the water? I knew that was east. Am
East
I going
towards the beach, west towards the rest?
Oh, yes. Except for when you go on to California.
Oh, yeah.
And then you can't do that anymore, and it totally confuses you. So, all right. So mortgage wasn't your first stint.
No, I didn't even know what a mortgage broker was, to be honest with you. I did commercial lending on the real estate side, but I had a college degree and I was drowning in debt, right? And so I called.
How old were you at the time, do you think?
24.
So you're 24, you're married.
Yep.
And
with one kid and one on the way.
Okay. And you're working for your friend's parents' copier business, basically doing office management, dispatching, and some like light accounting work.
Yeah.
Because your career prior to that was working in banking.
Yeah.
For $10 an hour.
Yeah. And they let me work from home, and I don't trust anybody with my kids, so it was perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were doing that, the year was what, 2014 at the time?
2012.
2012.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2012.
And I worked for them from 2007, 8
okay.
to 2012. So, like, good 4 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right, because that's right. You were in banking. You and I were talking off camera. You were in banking during the meltdown.
Yes.
So you had just graduated college.
Yeah.
And then you get your first job. It's in the financial world.
Yeah.
And then you get laid off because the whole world goes collapsing.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So then you found yourself with your best friend's parents' copier company.
Yeah.
Married, baby on the way, one already in the house. Yeah. And you went to buy your first house.
And a big named lender told me that I needed like $30,000 for a $189,000 house. And I was crying because I'm 8 months pregnant, no place to live. My husband's work is moving us to Sarasota. And I'm thinking, well, there was no rentals in Sarasota, by the way. Like, we couldn't find anything. And I thought, there's no way. So someone told me to call a broker. So I did. And I sold my first car. I literally laid out the cash in the DMV because, it's a bad 4-letter word in our industry.
So wait a minute. So you're trying to raise funds for closing.
Oh, yeah.
So this online lender that talks about push button, get mortgage, and they're all over TV and they like to go into space.
Yeah.
That particular company, you called their call center and one of their bankers told you, hey, sorry, Chica, you need $30,000. And you're like, who has $30,000?
In 2012.
In 2012.
Almost 2013.
To buy a $180,000 house.
Yeah.
Right. So you're like, wait a minute, I need 10% down plus 12 grand in closing costs, which how many points are you charging me? But let's not go there. And you're like, there has to be a better way. But in the interim, you knew you needed money. So what do? You go and sell your car?
I do. Yeah.
Because y'all had 2 cars, so you're going to downsize to one car?
To one car, yeah.
And you're going to sell your car with 2 kids. And by the way, if you haven't noticed this, like there's a theme that we're going to start right now. Ashley gets shit done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's all you know. Yeah. Right. That may be one of those secret ingredients that your life coach tells you that you have that maybe not everyone else just has at their disposal, is that, hey, by the way, I only know how to quote unquote get shit done.
Yeah.
So you're on a mission, headstrong, super smart. So you're going to sell your car. Of course, your mortgage broker says, don't deposit cash because then I can't use it. Mm-hmm. So you're at the DMV and you're just laying cash out as if you just hit it big.
In front of the person at the DMV and made her do a bill of sale with a cash receipt right there, because you can't take a cashier's check or anything because people are fraudulent, like.
Wow. But hey, you sourced your large deposit.
I did.
And what was that mortgage broker able to do for you?
$13,000 on my first house. And that house changed our trajectory of our life. Yeah.
Yep. So that was a life-changing moment financially.
Yeah.
How long did you end up owning the house for?
18 months. And then we bought another house in Pensacola and I used a broker again.
Okay.
And then
Did you use the same broker?
We did. Yeah.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how were you introduced to your very first broker?
From another friend.
Okay.
From my church, yeah.
Yep. So someone from church gave you a recommendation. That person saved like saved your deal, right?
Half, like 50% money.
Yes.
Like 13,000 sounds achievable. 30,000 really doesn't.
Yep. And you owned that home for 18 months until your husband was transferred from Sarasota, Florida, up to Pensacola, which, by the way, that's like a 6-hour drive. So that's a big, y'all were living in Orlando. Orlando, Sarasota is about 2.5, 3 hours, depending on traffic. And then in the opposite direction, Sarasota gets you all the way up.
7 hours.
Yeah, 7 hours. And I like to say that because like we have people in Canada listening. We have people actually in Iceland who tune in.
Yeah.
So not everyone. More people are geographically challenged like we are.
Yeah.
So I at least want to be able to like lay it out like these are big moves.
Yes. It's so big moves.
Yep. So you sell your house in Sarasota. I'm assuming you made decent money on it.
Yeah, because the market had kind of recouped a bit. And we were fortunate enough to buy a foreclosure, which the funny thing is we almost didn't go see it because the pictures looked atrocious. Well, the bank never posted new pictures and it was all completely redone. The bank had redone it they never posted new pictures.
Oh.
So we get this 4-bedroom, 2-bath, gated community house in a great neighborhood in Bradenton, because just so everybody knows, it's like a very hot area right by Lakewood Ranch. It's expensive. It's like cream of the crop.
By the way, that house today, if I were to guess, 700?
5-6 probably.
Yeah, $600,000.
No back neighbors ever because there's a farm back there.
Do you ever kick yourself for not trying to house hack it?
Yeah, but then I didn't know what I know now.
Yeah. Okay.
And
yep.
We couldn't buy the next house without that. So,
okay. So you sell that house. You use the same broker. You move to Pensacola, Florida.
Yeah, and we use that money for down payment because we made a pretty penny on it. I always say houses change generational wealth. You don't start at the $800,000 house. You start someplace else. So.
And then how long did you live in Pensacola for?
18 months too long. I hated that place.
Oh, wow. Okay. But didn't you find your way into the mortgage industry at some point?
Because I was broke and I didn't have any friends and I was working from home. We didn't know anybody there, because 7 hours to drive to your friends is horrible.
Yes.
So it's just not happening. You think it's going to happen because you're like, oh, same state.
So by this time, had your second daughter been born?
Yeah.
Okay.
She was 18 months old.
Okay. So now we fast forward. You have 2 kids. You're living in Pensacola. Because this is a cool story and this is where I'm trying to go with it. You then, like most of us, fell into or found your way into becoming a mortgage broker.
I did, yeah.
So you had a mortgage broker come in and save the day and help you find a way to yes. You buying that house was instrumental to so many things. One of those is probably helping you maybe get out of debt or start generating wealth.
Yeah.
You leveraged the equity from your first house to buy your second house. You're living in Pensacola. You freaking hate it. It's Pensacola. You don't have any friends. You have 2 small kids. Your husband's working all the time, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But at some point, you made the decision to quit working for your friend's parents.
Yeah. So I called and asked if I could be a processor first because I thought if I could do it part-time with my job.
And who did you call?
The broker that I used.
And why did you call that broker?
Because it was the only broker I knew. And I was like, well, if I could process, and I don't know how this really works still, right? And she's like, no, you're too smart. You got your documents really quick. You're going to be an LO. And I hung up and said yes. But then my husband said, that's a commission job. And I said, oh, no.
Well,
No.
But let's tell the audience, but what was it that attracted you to becoming a mortgage broker?
She told me that the most she ever made was $150,000 for the year and on average. And so I thought, well, that could change my family's entire life because I'm making $16,000 a year or $16 an hour right now. So that's like what?
32 grand a year?
Yeah.
Do you do that math? Like, do you
do,
double it and add 3 zeros?
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite hacks to teach people. Like, look, if you ever want to figure out what someone makes, take their hourly, times it by 2, add 3 zeros.
And that's what they make.
Yeah, if you round up and not round down, you'll be closer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's somewhere around 32, 33 grand.
Yeah. And so I knew that would change my family's life. We could get back to our family. So my husband said, pack the kids up. I have to stay here because he had a commitment. They paid for us to move there. So we had to stay there for a certain amount of time. He drove 7 hours every weekend to look back to us.
So it all comes out of necessity, right? This young professional, this young mom who her whole life has just done nothing but get shit done.
Yeah.
Made the decision that you didn't like where you were financially.
Yep.
You didn't like when you looked at your assets, how little you saw. When you looked at your debt, how much you saw.
Yeah.
And you knew there had to be a better way.
Had to be.
So you remember your mortgage broker, who meant a lot to you, sharing with you that, hey, look, you're like, I do really well. I make 150 grand a year doing this. And you're like, wait a minute. Huh? I'm making literally like 20% of that right now.
Barely, yeah.
I can maybe do what you do. Let me come be your processor. Because you were like, well, they at least make $500 a file. And if I at least did 10 files, that's 60 grand a year. That's double what you're making now. And you could do it nights and weekends outside of, taking care of your 18-month-old and you're probably at that time, 5 or 6 year old? 7-year-old. And as luck would have it, that same broker's like, no, you're too smart. Yeah. Like, I'm going to make you go be a mortgage broker. Yeah. So you did what every sane person would do. You found a mortgage brokerage opportunity right in Pensacola where your husband and kids are. Oh, no, that's what a sane person would do, but not a person with a high get shit done factor. Yeah. No, what did that person do? What did that version of this story?
7 hours away.
You took the kids.
I took the kids, the dogs, and the cat so that he didn't have anything to worry about but work, because someone had to make real money for the time being, because I'm going into a commission job, and everybody who knows commission, you either quit right before you make it or you make it. Yeah. And so I moved into my mother-in-law's house into 1 bedroom, and with all of us, they built a pull down bunk bed out of the wall, like a Murphy bed style, so that my oldest daughter had some place to sleep. And then we put a toddler bed in the room with me, and we just all lived happily ever after.
How long did you?
18 months.
Wait, for 18 months?
18 months, because he had to stay in Pensacola for 18 months.
He put in 3 years.
Yeah.
He put in 3 years in Pensacola, right?
No, 18 months, because we had just
Oh, you had just moved.
Yeah.
And then you had just moved. You didn't like it.
I didn't like it.
And you're like, let me get out of here.
Yeah.
You got out of here, but he had to stay. You took the cat, the dogs, the kids, moved in with his parents. Yeah. And all of you shared that one room.
He drove every weekend.
And every weekend he drove 7 hours.
Even during football season.
Even during football season? What do you mean, meaning the traffic
because he missed
sucked?
the games, because he'd drive home on Sunday, so he could only listen to the games on.
Oh, he's a big NFL fan.
He is.
Who's his team? The Buccaneers?
Sometimes the Buccaneers, used to be the 49ers,
Oh,
He just likes football in general.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he, for 18 months, 2 football seasons.
Yeah.
But walk us through that journey. So you become a mortgage broker, you're 100% commission.
Yeah.
Plus, at this point, you're basically a single mom living with your in-laws.
I worked whenever she worked. If I could follow her, I was at a point where I was literally calling my credit card to see if I had $5 to buy a coffee for her so I could get her out of bed to get to the office.
Who was her?
The person that was mentoring me.
You're a mentor. Okay. So that's a key to the story. You moved down here not just for any job, a job with a mentor.
Yes.
So you knew if you made the move back to Central Florida, where your in-laws lived, where you originally moved to, where your husband grew up, that you had a place to stay, but more importantly, this career opportunity came with a mentor.
Yes.
I think that's huge.
It's huge.
Because today you're a mentor.
I am.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and I want to get there. But today you are a mentor. You have 4 other originators who want to be just like you. To a certain degree.
I tell them success is not always the same. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Their own version of successful. And it's important for the audience to know that rarely do any of us get anywhere by ourselves.
Yes.
Rarely. So you saw the opportunity, and it was worth that risk if it came with this mentorship.
Yeah. And I think a lot of loan officers enter now, and just much like realtors too, where they want this 100% baseline, right? During the time that we entered, you didn't get 100%. That's just not, it doesn't exist. So that's why a lot of people fail when they come into this, because they don't have that mentor. They want that 100% commission, but they could actually make more if they got a mentor and took that initial 50, 60% or whatever, because there's so much more that's being offered than that.
I love that you said this, and you and I didn't get a chance to talk about this off camera, but anytime I coach, I just hired 2 account executives that started today over at T-Lop. Yeah. These men are absolute studs of salespeople. And their job is to be able to make sure the entire world knows that we exist, and we're coaching in the most amount of originators and shaping the most lives. And even with them, I coached them this. Yeah. And I coach it to mortgage brokers and loan officers alike. It's our job to work our 40 to 48 hours a week, doing the things that we love the most and the things that allow us to earn the most amount of money in those 40 to 48 hours.
Yeah.
So I don't care if you make 200 basis points or you make 30 basis points. If you can make 30 basis points working 40 to 48 hours a week doing the things that you love to do, and it allows you to fund $400 to $500 million in volume, you're making $1.2 to $1.5 million and you're playing in your sweet spot, instead of the person who wants to make 200 basis points, but they're only able to fund 50 loans a year for $20 million, and they're drowning. It's to each his own, right? Yeah. I have a good friend of mine. He runs his own broker shop. That is what he should do. He does not work any more hours or any less hours. He does not make any more money or any less money than if he didn't run his own broker shop. But it's where he is in his sweet spot.
Yeah.
And it allows him to do him. I have other people that never want to do anything besides their own production.
Yeah.
And that's their sweet spot. They probably outproduce my friend 2-to-1. And they probably have probably a little bit more job satisfaction because they're only doing the things they love to do.
Yeah.
And they make the same amount of money because they want to maybe make a little bit less, but it comes with that different, I guess, responsibility.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you moved to Central Florida, you get the mentor, and then this is when I think you were telling me, what did you do from there? You said you worked whenever she was working, you were working?
Yeah. I'd go home, put my kids to bed. She loved working nights and in the middle of the night, and I would just work. Like, sleep was not an option at the time.
What were you doing, though, because you didn't have any
Whatever
loans?
she was doing.
So you played kind of her free LOA loan partner.
100%. Whatever she was doing, I was asking to help with it. I remember like refreshing my email and hoping that an email would come in one day. And so and I was calling everybody I knew to tell them that, hey, I'm an LO now, like, just so you know. Because, I mean, Facebook wasn't even really that big of a thing. Like, social media wasn't as big as it is now.
Yeah.
If you would have told me at almost 40 years old that I'd be making social media videos to sell my stuff like a 16-year-old, like, I would have laughed at you.
Yeah.
Like, this is what we're doing these days.
So you were with a mentor and you attached yourself to the mentorship. So if there's a learning lesson to the younger generation, or even not even younger, these may be people that are my age, 10 years older than you, and they're doing a career change. Your advice to them would be find a mentor and then attach yourself to their hip.
Yeah.
Even if it means that you're working for free, it's not for free because you are gaining invaluable experience and
100%.
invaluable like lessons in mortgage.
Yeah.
When did you start making sales calls, and how did that go for you? Like, at what point did Ashley need to start building her own book of business? Was that on day 1 or was it on day 91?
So the most LOs are licensed in Florida of any other state because it's also the easiest state. We do less audits. Like, you don't get an audit unless you get reported for something. Like, it's the easiest state, so why not get licensed here? So everybody does it. And I thought, well, no one knows me, right? Like,
yeah,
how am I going to get business? So I always thought about everybody who's posting online and saying mortgages are the most horrific experience. Like, my loan got canceled right before closing. Well, I thought that's horrible, and I would hate for that to happen to anybody, because if you get declined right before closing, how embarrassing. Like, you feel like it's something you did, but it's not. It's because that LO didn't take the time to make sure your loan was properly structured. So it's not you, it's on the LO. Shame on you, right? And so I thought, who the first person to know that is? That's title. So I started calling every title company. It's the only time I've ever cold called in my entire career because I hate cold calling. And I started calling, like, could you just ask the agent to call me, please, if something happened? Like, let me relook at it. And I did manual underwrites. And this is when Carrington Mortgage was, like, big. Every LO should have to send their loans to Carrington Mortgage a few times for 50,000 conditions later. Sorry to my AE. But it's just... I did what it took, and I would print out and highlight all the conditions and like group them together and like label them and number them and upload them so that we could get closed. And I would confidently tell people, I'll never tell you no, I'll tell you how to get there. And so as long as you do the work to get there too, we're going to get there.
So you worked title companies to introduce you to realtors who had transactions going sideways.
Yeah.
That's how you built your realtor network.
Yep.
Because your business is 70-80% realtor business.
Yep.
Right? Like, you still market to, have relationships with, target real estate agents.
Yes.
As your number one referral source.
Yes.
Obviously, at this point, 10 years into it, you have an entire past closed database.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming they still have your cell phone number. They know how to get
Yeah.
hold of you.
Yeah.
Do you do any builder business?
No.
Anything from financial advisors or divorce attorneys?
A couple financial advisors that were my clients first.
Okay.
And they send me a lot of HELOCs and cash out refis and things like that when it's like situations that people need those funds. Transaction coordinators were my next secret sauce.
Oh, okay.
So
transaction coordinators that work at like the big teams.
Doesn't matter if they work at a big team.
Okay.
I realized that they made the least amount of money in the transaction. So if you're making $300 in a transaction, which is the average transaction coordinator, $250 to $450, they're making the least and they're doing the most work. Like, they're following up on every deadline. They have the heaviest responsibility. If we miss if there's an escrow deadline, financing contingency, that buyer loses their escrow if something happens. And so I realized, well, if I took the guesswork out of things, I used to hand type all of my email updates, like, to everybody in the transaction. And so I would send out those updates and I would call the transaction coordinator, hey, just so you know. So I have one particular transaction coordinator that's become a very good friend of mine over the years. And I've probably gotten 15 realtor referrals from her.
Wow.
So, because my goal is to make her job as easy as humanly possible. My team knows if she has to call me for anything, you are not doing your job. Because she should know where we're at every step of the way. She should confidently know that the loan is going to close as well.
How long did it take before you feel like you made it? And you can't give me the bullshit answer of, I don't feel like I've made it.
No, I made it.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Are you willing to say that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you retired your husband. He now day trades. Like, you've made it.
I made it. Yeah.
That's freaking awesome. Thank you for like standing up, putting your flag in the ground and owning it.
Yeah.
But how long into your career, like how long did it take you to close your first loan? How long did it take you to close consistent loans where you're like, hey, I'm a mortgage professional. I'm making good money and this is my career?
Probably 5 years, to be honest with you. 4 to 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was that first year
And it was
like?
before COVID, and then COVID was like a lottery. Like, stop comparing the market to COVID. You're never going to get COVID again, okay?
Yes.
Not in our lifetime.
Yeah.
That was a lottery. Like, it was shiny penny chasing, right? So, and a lot of LOs expect that again, but no, there's work that has to be done in it. Just because you don't want to cold call, do events, do things, show appreciation, like follow up with people.
And by the way, if you want to say that it could happen again, okay, once a decade.
Okay.
Like once a decade. Like you could argue.
And are you ready for it?
Well,
because I mean, the thing is so many people aren't ready for it either.
Yes.
So they want it, but they're not prepared.
Yeah, but because you got into the industry 15?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in 2015, how many
like
months?
2018, 2019. So let's say 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, how many months before you closed your first transaction?
3.
3 months before you closed your first transaction.
Yep, so I asked for a draw when I started because I needed to pay my mortgage in Pensacola, and we lived off of 2. So I was very specific, and I said I only want X amount of dollars. I don't care if I come crying in your office that I'm broke. Do not give me another dollar.
Yeah, you wanted $2,000 a month for 3 months.
Yes,
and
then
they
I would
gave
pay
it to
it back
you, but it was with the understanding that you would pay it back
over the following 3 months.
Okay, and you closed your first loan.
I did. I closed my first loan and got my final draw.
Nice.
Too.
Okay.
And then he agreed because he saw me work so hard that I would only have to pay back 50% of that. So I paid back $3,000 of it, $500 a month or $500 a paycheck for 6 paychecks.
Okay. And then how long until you were doing like $10 million a year or $20 million a year?
Year 3, almost into 4.
Yeah.
Like then I started to pick up, and I always say Orlando's the smallest big town that there is.
Mm-hmm.
And your reputation is the most important. You should protect your reputation, and that includes the brokerage that you're with. I Googled, before I went to Apley, I went back 7 years on all of their social media, everybody who worked there.
Wow.
Because your reputation is my reputation. I need, when they see that Apley letter, before they even see Ashley Bedford, that they're like, oh, yeah, I've worked with Apley. They're amazing.
Yeah.
So that is the most important thing. And I tell every LO at that, like Joe, Nick as well. I'm like, no, your reputation is my reputation. Don't mess up the deal. And if you do it for free, because we're going to fix it.
That was the one thing that we had in this Orlando market going on so well with the Waterstone brand is we built it. And we built it. I mean, it was me, it was Mike Smalley, it's David Holbrook, and then some of our early originators. Yes, we all did such a good job that we built it to where anyone else who came in got to benefit that most agents, when they see that name on the pre-approval, it means something.
It's important.
So it was important to you that you aligned yourself because you did a brokerage change. Like last year, she did 178 units and did a brokerage change.
I did.
Right? So
I did the brokerage change the year before, but last year was my first full
year with them. But what I loved what you said as well is you were 2 to 3 years into it before you feel like, hey, I made it.
Yeah, and I went home at year 4.5 too. My husband was literally going to have a heart attack. Like his job was horrible. Like he had gained weight. Like he hated his job. It was stressful. They just wanted more. And so I really felt like God told me, tell him to quit his job and I'll figure it out. And it was terrifying. I was not making enough money at that time for him to quit his job. And, there's a stigma with men like quitting their jobs, like, which is ridiculous because I literally cannot do anything I do without that man. Like he takes our daughter to horse and like, he's home with our kids. Like I cannot do what I do without him. And also he cooks because I'm a horrible cook. Okay. And so,
it took me marriage counseling, but I learned that through marriage counseling, how much I owe my wife. Like she's my partner, but how much I owe her. Yeah. Because I never once had to be like, oh, if I book this trip, who's going to watch the dog? Or, 100%. Oh, if I say yes to this speaking engagement, or if I stay late tonight, who's going to make sure the kids get picked up from their after school activity?
Like I'm here right now. My husband's making sure that things are done.
Yes.
Right? Like
Yes.
It's important.
Yep. So you were 4.5 years into your career, and you had the ability to say to him, hey, let me be the sole income provider.
And he didn't want to do it at first. So I'm not going to lie. He was like, no, because he comes from a family where the men do the things, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't that anything about me. It was more about like, you know, he comes from a family where men provide, but I'm like, you can't make the money that I make, like doing anything.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing that you can do. And so quit. And so a few months later, he did.
That's so cool.
And I'll never look back. Like, it's the best decision we've ever made. And it was hard the first year, I'm not going to lie, because it is a hard thing for a man, especially in this world, to do that. Like, to find, because your value is almost found in work. So.
Yeah. So couple lessons here for the audience to be writing down. It takes 2 years. I coached this. I was told this 20 years ago when I got into the industry. I shared it with my first mentee when I was in my 3rd full year. I had my first mentee when I had my first branch. Literally for 20 years, I have shared with people, it takes 2 years. If you cannot go all in, be obsessed with your career, it's going to take you 6 months before you close your first loan. It's going to take you 2 years before you feel like you know what you're doing. And if you don't have that type of runway, maybe this career isn't ready for you. And then what I loved about what you shared, because I have a lot of friends in this industry that are like you. They are powerful. Female originators, they're moms, they're wives, they're friends, they're sisters, they're daughters. And something that they'll ask of me is like, hey, I need help. How can I do it all? And I'm like, I'm the last person to ask. I'm not a mom. Well, I'm not a mom. I'm not a wife. And I always had a stay-at-home spouse. But as I studied my friends, you know what they have? A stay-at-home spouse. Or they have a full-time live-in nanny. Or like there is something that you know, this type of production and this type of income, it doesn't come without its own extra predicaments. Right? Your extra, I need to solve for this. For you, the solving was you can do more if your husband stayed home. And you figured that out. Plus, he could get healthier. He could not be stressed out. And then you could take on all that stress at work. Because I want to ask you, how would you explain your work hours today, even your work hours your work hours leading into COVID? Let's take all the COVID years out, right? So we're not talking 2020, 2021. Unless they taught you something that was really like badass.
You need an assistant and you need a team, because 2021 almost killed me. And you need technology. You have to be at a forward-moving brokerage. That is the most important thing. That is one thing that COVID taught me. And that's why I left. I thought I would never leave the place I was at.
Because they brought you in.
8 years, they became like my family. You know?
But they weren't, you know, it's so crazy. I left a company I loved 9 months ago because I was chasing and found a company that wants to talk 2030, that wants to go buy tech companies, that wants to make big moves, because I was like, I'm young still, relative to this industry. And I have more to give, but I can't be somewhere if they too don't have their eye on 2030.
Yes, exactly. Because otherwise we'll get taken over.
But how would you describe your work-life situation?
So I told you during our talk before is I don't believe in balance. I believe in priority in the moment. Stop selling yourself this ridiculous scheme of balance. Like, you can't do two things at once. Like, the good comparison is like, I can't go answer my phone over there that I'm sure there's 59 missed text messages and 34 missed phone calls, because this is the priority right now. And so we've been sold, especially as women, that there has to be this balance. Like, we have to be the best mom at the same time as being the best at our job and do the best laundry and all the things, but you can't. So
how many hours a week are you working, do you think?
Probably still too much.
Okay. Is there like 50, 60? Or how many days? Are you ever taking a day off?
I don't know that there's a full day off, but I definitely find a little bit more time on the weekends, like how to manage it. So I'm a little bit of a psychopath when it comes to work, though, you know, so I'm just different. That's why I tell the girls on my team too, like, hey, it's not always going to be like, your success is not my success. Like, you don't need to close 15 to 20 deals a month. Like, that doesn't always look like that. So it just depends.
Do you love it?
I love it.
Yeah. I mean,
it's like a black and white package that's like so pretty, and you tie a little red bow around it. It's like, it's easy.
Yeah, no, I had this conversation with Michelle. Michelle's my wife. And she's like, oh, you're a workaholic. I'm like, no, I'm not a workaholic. I actually think I'm pretty balanced. I go, but here's the difference. I love what I do. So my buddy Tom, I was out walking the dog. Tom's like changing his oil and putting in a new car battery, because Tom loves that.
Yeah.
Okay, that takes 2 hours out of Tom's weekend that he's not spending with his wife and kids. He's not spending time on anything else but that project.
Yeah.
Dustin does not enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
Therefore, I may spend those same 2 hours upstairs working on my next big sales project.
Yeah.
And my wife's like, oh, you're always working. I go, I'm tinkering. Like, you
Yeah.
know, I don't do woodworking. I
Yeah.
don't go golfing.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I go golfing, has to be a special fundraiser.
Yeah.
Because I'm just not good at it. And it's too freaking hot in Florida. So it sounds like, you know, where similarities are, you're like, I can't say I don't work Saturday and Sunday, but does it really work if it's something you love doing?
Yeah.
And if you're filling the time that you otherwise would have filled with, I don't know, yoga or...
Well, and I have boundaries too, I think is important. Like, so for example, if you've had my number since Monday, I'm not doing your pre-approval on Saturday and Sunday. And I have very strict boundaries when it comes to pre-approval. So
I love this.
Full docs, there's no exceptions, 0 exceptions. Like every document will be like, I had a client call me. He filled out the application over the weekend. I called him this morning. I learned the power of yet from Jamie Miller. And I said, hey, you haven't uploaded your documents yet. Is there something I can help you with? And he said, no, I want rates. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I have 2 options for rates. You can either provide me a locked loan estimate, or you can upload all of your documents so that if you're okay with that, I can go ahead and lock it immediately. And so I have a hard line on that.
I love that.
Because I'm a good LO and my letter's as good as gold.
Yeah. What's next for you? What's next for Ashley Bedford?
You know, I'd like to recruit some good people on my team. And like we said, no recruiting, attracting.
Yeah, I hate recruiting.
Yeah.
Hate recruiting. I love to develop systems and processes that attract top sales reps to come work with us, but I don't like recruiting one bit.
And I love educating. Like, I love educating. I love working with my team. Like, I genuinely applaud every girl on my team. I'm like, let's go. Let's win. Like, keep going. Push further.
You have
push
a requirement. What are some of your requirements to work on your team?
So they're all self-producing.
Mm-hmm.
Occasionally, like, there will be a deal. Like, I don't speak Spanish, and so I'll split a deal with some people on my team, you know, or I'll refer a deal out because they speak Spanish. But they have to be in the office at least 3 days a week.
Yeah. It's a full-time career opportunity that you're giving these people.
You ever heard 2 heads are better than 1? Well, 5 are even better. Like, because we've saved deals in the office, like listening, hearing, oh, hey, no, that guideline changed. Like, this happened. Let's talk about it. How can I help you with this? So.
Yeah. And I think it's important the audience hears that, because there's other hiring managers that maybe don't necessarily put their foot down and put up firm guardrails or, you know, structure. And I couldn't agree more with you. Like when I found that out about you, I was like, yes, I freaking love that.
Yeah.
Put on your uniform, like get up, put on your uniform and go to work.
Yes.
Go to work doesn't have to be 7 to 4 Monday through Friday. You can come in at 7 or you can come in at 9. I need you coming in 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And I need you showing up ready to put in work. And if you leave for a purpose. Like I love people coming in and say, oh, hey, I have a coffee appointment. Awesome. Go to your coffee appointment, come back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we all had to do.
Or schedule your stuff beginning of the day and end of the day so you can spend all the middle. So like even this, I schedule the end of the day because I know I'm going to go handle some other things.
Yep.
But that's so important. And like I always say too, to them as well, I don't have time. Like I work with a lot of realtors. I don't have time to go sit at coffee with them. I don't get mad if they refer to other people either. Like I have a few amazingly loyal realtors, but then I have some that share the love. Okay. In the beginning of my career, if I could have changed one thing, I would have stopped getting so emotional about it.
Same. You know Jenny Weimer?
Oh, I do. Yeah.
Jenny Weimer, who I had the best partnership with for like a decade, sat me down because she's about 10 years older than me.
Yeah.
But we kind of grew up in the business together. She, by the way, for those that don't know, is one of the top agents in the country, but she's based in Central Florida. And she said, I love you. The team loves you. We love using you. However, you're getting too territorial. And if this is how it's going to be, we'll quit using you.
Yeah.
And I learned that valuable lesson that, hey, look, we can be friends. We can work together, but this is not a monogamous relationship.
And some are, but some aren't.
Yeah, but and she couldn't be. She did too much volume. As she said, I need more tools in the tool belt. Right? If I need someone who's motherly, Dustin, that's not you.
Yeah.
Right? If I need someone who does this one product, that's not you.
Yeah.
So she's like, I need other tools in the tool belt.
Exactly.
Calm down and continue to service our account. We'll continue to be your partner. and in a way be grateful for what you have.
Exactly.
And not get pissed for everything you don't have.
And also don't be mad when clients walk away. That's something I really teach the girls on my team too. Because in the beginning, I was offended. Like, you just took money from my kids, basically. But I realized that I could probably go spend that time on 2 to 3 other deals than those people. I also don't let any clients treat my team like crap. Like, I will fire you. I don't care if I'm making $10,000, $20,000. I don't care. You're out. Like,
I love that.
So my team makes me a lot more money than $10,000.
Yeah. So your team has to show up to work. It's a full-time career.
Yeah.
You're going to invest in them, but they need to invest in them.
Absolutely.
You don't get territorial with your referral partners.
Nope.
And you don't let anyone abuse you, your time, your team, or their time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm not the girl that you're coming to. I'm the girl that you're coming to for service. And listen, my rates are good. I'm a broker, right? But I provide more than just numbers. Like, I want to know your kids, grandkids. I want to come to the baby showers. Like that's what I want.
So future, we fast forward, we're in 2030.
Yeah.
Are you 100 million personal production and your team's doing another 60 million? Do you think that far out? Do you have your own branch or on your own P&L? You're like, I want none of that. I love being me, and I love having my team, and this is where we're going to sit.
So one thing I told you is I don't really focus on the money or the production, because my favorite clients are probably the ones that I make the least amount of money on, because I know how hard they work to get there. And that's why I tell every client, I will never tell you no, but I will tell you how to get there. And that could be getting a second job, fixing your credit, getting a cosigner. Like, you may not like the solution, but I've got one. Mm-hmm. And so housing changes lives. Like, your kids are less likely to do drugs. You're less likely to get divorced. Like, there's so many things that it changes that it makes such a difference that this is more than money. So I don't really focus on the numbers per se, but I want to help other LOs they have to be self-producing, because I'm just not a big pay to play type of person, because you don't build relationships like that. And as soon as somebody else offers more, you're out. And so I just want to help other people, I think, is the biggest thing, and educate, because I know the guidelines in and out. And so my goal has been even growing my social media, educating.
Do you think you'll work well into your 50s, or do you think you'll
I will
shut
probably
it down?
Never retire.
Okay.
I love this.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So there's no end in sight. It's keep on.
Yeah.
Keep on keeping on.
Yeah. I just love it so much. Like, it drives me.
What's one piece of advice that you would tell to your younger self, and maybe you shared this with your daughters as you were raising them?
Yeah. Don't compare yourself to anybody. Comparison is the thief of joy. One of my really good friends owns a mortgage company down in Miami, and everybody in their brain says that we should be competitors, but I love her. Like, she's literally one of my favorite people. And if I listened to everybody else and she compared to me, we would be enemies instead. But instead, we're like a sounding board. Like, she calls me if she needs help. Like, I call her. Like, it's just great. And when I started in this business, it was really a man's world. And everybody said, oh, you must compete with each other. Well, I don't have time for that. Like, let's help each other rise up.
Awesome. If people want to get a hold of you or follow you, what's the best way?
Instagram, Ashley the Mortgage Magician.
Ashley the Mortgage Magician.
Yeah.
Okay. And is that your jam, like IG, nothing on LinkedIn? Or if you're not on LinkedIn, I know you're not on LinkedIn. I tried to hit you up on LinkedIn.
I know. I messaged you on Instagram because Joey and also Jamie were like, hey, wanted to talk to you. And I was like, he didn't message me, because I checked my Instagram immediately. I'm actually horrible at LinkedIn.
Okay.
Because I feel like everybody that just wants to recruit you is posting in there. And so Instagram is where it's at. There's a whole community
of us on LinkedIn. I tell people, because I hate Messenger.
Yes, me too.
And I got to a point with the podcast in the coaching company that I had to leave Facebook for my family.
Oh, yeah.
So although I coach loan officers to 100% be on Facebook, I had to dial it back as a favor to my wife.
Yeah.
However, I'm a little bit unique and a bit of an outlier. So, don't do as I say, not as I do. Yeah. But IG, and then obviously LinkedIn, that's my go-to. So I tell people, like, first name Dustin, last name Owen.
Yeah.
But for you, Ashley, the Mortgage Magician on Instagram. She's Ashley Bedford.
Yeah.
If you're not following her yet, start following her now. She puts up crazy numbers. She obviously has tons of experience. and a lot of worldly knowledge that we all can learn from, and some you shared with us today. So I appreciate all bits of that, but unfortunately our time together has come to an end. So check her out on Instagram. She's Ashley Bedford. I'm Dustin Owen. You just tuned in to Loan Officer Podcast. That's all the time we have for you today, but we do look forward to catching you on the next episode. Peace.